All right, what is up, everybody? Good morning. It is a lovely, lovely Tuesday here. We're gonna talk about the market, and boy, this market is just insane. Like, I cannot get over how crazy it is. I can't get over the price swings we're seeing right now. It's just bonkers to me. I don't get well, I do understand, right? Like we're seeing a lot of people, really entering the space. The Super Bowl, I think, has been a huge catalyst. Celebrities buying has been a catalyst. So yeah, like today, I just wanted to talk about three things. One, what projects are kind of going crazy. Two, about what's happening with kind of attention in the space, and three, like expectations for projects and how you can actually find where the next kind of like pump is going to happen and what projects are probably undervalued. I'm a huge believer right now that if you are buying NFTs, you should be using Looks Rare probably just for the rewards. I know liquidity is low there, right? Like there's not a ton listed. The prices aren't always the best, but like I really do think like there are more reasons to use it than not to use it. The I think improvements to the platform are coming, and I'm just again I'm incentivized to say this because I'm also I've invested a bunch in it, but I do really like using Looks Rare. Um, so one thing I will mention real quick before we dive into stuff is like let's take V1 Punks for an example here. And for those who aren't aware, V1 Punks is actually the original Punks. Like the Punks that we have today are actually V2s. The original V1s were Punks that were created by the original Larva Labs team, and then well they made a mistake. And I believe it had to do something with the number minted and supply, and I take that back. It's not that. It's the fact that when you bought one, they immediately took the money, and it I think went and bought another. Anyway, the contract was really messed up to an extent where they said, "Look, this isn't gonna work. We're gonna do another one." And so these have kind of like floated out of the woodwork, and now everybody's buying them. This is kind of that whole idea that we're going to talk about today is that things can kind of get left in, in the distant past. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, we're not thinking about this. We're not talking about this. And then all of a sudden they get really hot again. Um, so this is kind of the like idea for like finding what's going to happen. Like Clone X, same thing happened here. We saw Clone X really get quiet, not a lot happening. We saw the floor go really low. Like I think it was like 5 at one point, right? Like got really hot. Nike getting involved. And then it just sat, right? Like attention was other places. And then all of a sudden, we start to see, we're going through this kind of boom right now. We see it blow up. And so now today, like we have an average price of 27, whereas 2 weeks ago we're 20 ETH lower. It's really really crazy. Um, so these are like again the things that you should be doing are saying, okay, not what is pumping, how can I get in? What is being forgotten? Still has a ton of value? What is undervalued? It has equivalents. Like make those comparables. Clone X, if you looked at Clone X in the first week, or even like let's take it a week, 2 weeks ago, and you said, all right, what is the equivalent of Clone X? Well, obviously, Board API Club and Clone X are very different from what their utility and execution's been like. But if you look at who's behind Clone X, there's multiple reasons that this is undervalued at 7. I made this issue or this mistake of not going and paying attention to where attention wasn't. The same thing can be said of mutants right now. Mutants are above a 20 ETH floor. I think this is a little bit down. I think we touched 30 yesterday, but mutants has been steady, always had the attention. Whereas if you look at other projects that have been doing merge, have been doing community engagement stuff like Atom Bomb Squad, I'm gonna get on my Atom Bomb Squad soapbox in a minute here. You can recognize that like there's some similarities there. There's similar kind of like paths forward, probably undervalued. So look, this morning, real quick, like we've seen the market's crazy. The market's way up. If we just look at stats real quick, and this is probably the last week I'm using OpenSea for like looking at stats. I'm gonna find a better solution. If there is a solution that you use for looking at stats other than OpenSea, let me know. But this week has just been predominantly like Azuki, Bored Ape Yacht Club, CloneX, Mutants, Punks, and then we've had. It's interesting, like not to like put anything against this, but like we've had a lot of these female projects really get hot the last 2 weeks. If we look at like Crypto Coven, Crypto Chicks, Killer Girlfriend, Life Asuna, this is gonna be really interesting. Apparently, this is like anime, and that's gonna be really interesting. We've had all these things getting really hot, like Doodles even with Justin Bieber buying. My question is like, what's in the top 200 that like hasn't nothing's really happened to? Like where's the attention not? So again, this is just how I'm thinking of things, how I think you guys should be thinking of things. The things that I in the top 200, if I were to scroll through this right now and say like, hey, here are things that definitely are overlooked or better quality, would be like, let me see here. Let's see if I can find something that's other than the ones I've already looked at. It's like Fly Fish Club is super interesting to me. I think this has fallen quite a bit. I think the floor was like 8 at one point, so we're falling a bit. Again, this was really hot when Gary got on it. This is really hot like 2 weeks ago, a week, maybe even like a week ago. Now that the attention's everywhere else, like, all right, I have 5 ETH wrapped up here. Would I rather have it sitting here, like Life of Asuna, which was a 2 ETH floor, now it's pushing 3 2 days later. I don't think that's a hard to understand that. You can even see that in the volume, right? Like it got really hot, things flew up, and like obviously average price is down a little bit as well. But like, we're seeing this kind of pull back a little bit. Obviously, when this happens, rares are gonna not follow this trend as much because of the supply, and usually those rares are just for people who want to have them and they're waiting for the real run up, or they're just never gonna sell. But I wouldn't be surprised to see this fall back. So that might be a good pickup. But like, what else is happening? Like, I'm curious. I think I saw creatures while we were going through here. So like Subducks might be a good play here. I haven't seen much happening there. Creature World 1.5. Like we saw a ton of like FUD people like looking for this. Like uh, Jenkins. Here's another great one. Jenkins has been so under the radar, and then all of a sudden news comes out. Right, like we're expecting something. What happened to their floor? Right. Okay, it was attention's everywhere else, attention's everywhere else. Okay, news is coming in a day or two, or it's today. Like you could have bought very easily for point 0.7, and now it's very easy to get a sale close to 2, right? Like if this is staring everybody right in the face. And it was just because it wasn't interesting, it wasn't cool. There was obviously news coming. Like this is what I would say: like buy before the news, wait for it to go up. And I'm just looking real quick at like chat because we're recording this live, right? I'm trying something else new. Um, MFers is another great example. Sat at point 0.3 for forever, and then all of a sudden, everybody's like, "Oh wait, nobody's buying this. It's a great profile photo project. It's, we like Sartoshi," and it shoots up. That's kind of this whole idea of like, where is the attention not? Look there, and if it does have that quality, right now is a great time to buy. Atom Bomb Squad, I'm going to get on my pedestal, like I said. Atom Bomb Squad is probably one of the most undervalued projects, in my opinion. Obviously, go do your own research, not financial advice. But we're talking about the Hundreds, who's one of the oldest and most OG streetwear brands in the country. Globally, it's just an international brand. We've seen them collaborate with everybody from Bored Ape Yacht Club to Smiles, to I mean, like, look, we're talking about a brand that works with other brands that the projects that we're working with aspire to be. Atom Bomb Squad is most likely going to be one of those brands that gets it right, because they've been doing this forever. A lot of people forget you can't just come in and say, "Oh, great, I'm going to run a company, I'm going to run a brand, I want to have cool merch." Like they've been doing it for 20 years. So I do think Atom Bomb Squad has a lot of things going for it. It's LA based, right? You have the Hundreds in LA. There's a very, very strong NFT community here. I think that gets overlooked sometimes. So like I look, my pitch to you on this is Atom Bomb Squad's a great example of like, even though there's 25,000 of these or 20,000, I'm not sure which one it is. Even though the supply is high, if we think about like what are they offering? They're offering token gated merch. They're offering metaverse experiences, collaborations. What's gonna happen here? All I'll say is what happens when they say, all right, great, like we've done Food Fest and we got people in. What happens when they do a music festival? I don't know if people have seen the video that Bobby did back in the day. Like it might have been like 2016, maybe it was 2012. I can't remember. Years ago, he did a crazy party in LA. And it was like Tyler the Creator, Gucci, like he had big names show up, and it was one of the craziest parties ever. What happens when he decides to do that and invite Bomb members, or like this becomes a bigger brand? Like I just see the Bomb evolving in front of me right now. I see a company that's been traditionally streetwear and collaborations and always kind of pushing that boundary, really, really putting all the cards on the table and saying, look, we're pushing all in on Web3. And that's a company and a brand that I want to be backed by or backing. Um, so let's look at a couple other things. I'm gonna keep this short, right? Like I'm only gonna keep this like a 15-minute video. Cool Pets is coming out. We saw floor last night at 3.1. My assumption was that we saw this floor shoot back to like 1.5 under 2 quickly. So like I don't want to sell my cool pet, right? Like I claimed it, I got it for free. I think I could have flipped it last night, right, for like 3. I do think supply is going to dictate this at the beginning, and then you'll see, there'll be huge price action. Attention will go somewhere else. We'll see this drop, obviously, and then there'll be more utility or something will come out, and we'll see the price, right? Comes back to this whole idea of where is the attention moving. It's all about attention rotation. Um, the site looks amazing though. I will say that. Like, I love the site. I love what they're doing. They have 4 elements, more coming. So like I get that kind of like Pokemon vibe. Like, what's the pros and cons of your pet? What does it do for you? We know battling's coming. Like go play around on the site. Like these are things you should do. If you haven't, understand kind of like where the roadmap's heading. Their roadmap's laid out pretty well. It's hard to read between some of the lines. Like we know that like there's gamification coming in, Q2. We know that they're trying to become more of a brand. So they have, stuff like merch and stuff. Like I have a Cool Cats mug sitting right over there on the desk. So it's gonna be interesting to see this play out. If they get gamification right, they get the token right, they get battling right, they make a more fun game than Axie Infinity, right? Are pets truly, should they be valued at 1.5 or 1 or 2? Probably not. We're going to see that probably be higher. And what happens over time? Like, we've seen this with phases. We want to see how we can onboard 50 to 100,000 people and not just keep it to 20, right? Those are bullish things. So this was a request, and we'll touch on this quickly. We saw this happen. Pudgy Penguins dropped down. People are upset, and then we heard about the acquisition. Spike in activity here, buying, price soared to 2.5. Not unexpected to see this drop down afterwards, all the way down to all the way down to about 1.1. So obviously, like attention has shifted, and I think people are kind of just buying anything right now, so I can get this. But here's a great example of like things against you. Attention was there, right? All the attention was there. Attention moves. This is where, if you're going to be buying something, this is where you want to be thinking after the huge pump. This could play against you, right? Like this is obviously played against me. For let me pull it up just so we can laugh at this. This has gone against me horribly with Azuki, where I was like, look, oh my gosh, this is price is up and I should just let it come down. Obviously that never happened. Things are kind of just pumping right now. But like if we have one of these events, right, where it's like, oh, this happened, probably not going to be sustainable, right? This is kind of a hype event. The attention when it goes other places, that's where you should be looking to buy. So Azuki, I think, is kind of in this like run up. We'll probably see Azuki pull back a little bit. Who knows? I've been saying that since 6th floor. I do think though there's a lot of hype happening here. Like I think a lot of people are going in. A lot of people are saying like, oh, this is the next X, Y, or Z. Um, I do think we'll see this pullback probably closer to 10. Like that's my prediction. There's just so much happening. The next one I'll kind of just say for attention, Wolf Game. This is really interesting to see from just like price action since the beginning of January, where like, look, we had a huge volume here, stuff leading up. We had average sales like 1.85, and then all the way up to 3. We had tons of stuff happening. Now we're in this kind of phase where like, okay, the whole crap of like Beanie has happened, the FUD happened. It feels like he's not there pumping as much. It's out of the front row. Alpha Game is out. Gary V and G Money and the others are playing the game, and it's quiet, right? The people who have a huge bag are in the Discord daily and they're interacting with their teams, but it's getting quiet. This is where me knowing, kind of watching what's happening here, we know that there's a fully built game coming. We know land and farmers will be utilized. This is where I get excited. Like these high when this is the last thing anybody's thinking about. This is when I get excited. Um, you can buy a sheep right now for about half of what you could 2 weeks ago. Nothing's changed. Price of wool is way down. Nothing's changed. It's just attention has shifted, and that's kind of when as we look, what's a timeline for this? Probably 2 months, 3 months out. I can wait. We can chill. Wait for this to really find a floor. Like, does it go down lower? I could see this going down to like 0.75 maybe for the sheep floor. But I want to really let that settle hit because I don't feel like there's anything coming immediately. The next thing I'll just kind of say for attention, after we talk about OMG Kirby drop, which is this is something where I think we're going to see attention kind of play out like, oh, it was hot, oh, it's over, hasn't pumped. This gives me the feeling. Again, I was involved with this project, so just disclosure there. I own 3, I think now. I feel like this is one where like we're gonna have that like, oh, lo-fi is cool, and it's gonna slowly kind of creep its way up. Yeah, Azuki does feel a little overvalued. Just reading a comment right now. Yeah, I think this is another project where if we look at attention, like music attention is going to come quickly in the space. I know I saw what's happening with other music projects in the space and how people are kind of getting more interested in like, can I own music? How do I, back an artist? Music right now feels like something where attention's other places, profile projects, access, utility, where this is IP ownership or the ability to listen to a song or back a creator. We're probably going to shift towards that direction at some point. That's why I would be looking here as well. The one thing out of everything that we've talked about, and man, I said I would keep this 15 minutes, but we've run over, is Punk's comic, Pixel Vault. Like, I have a feeling tomorrow is when we see this absolutely go bonkers. And I'm sure if we look at, well, it's hard here. Let's look at Meta Heroes. But we did see, right? We saw this floor way lower. Obviously, that's drama based. Let's look at Meta Heroes. The Meta Heroes are probably a great indicator of what's happening here. So, yeah, we're already seeing some run up. People are thinking, so like 3 days, 4 days ago, you could get one for 5. And now what we have happening is people are going, oh, Wednesday's going to be a big deal. I think people are underestimating what Wednesday's going to be. Wednesday most likely is going to be Pixel coming out and saying X, A, B, C, D, all invested in us. We're working with this brand. We have roadmap for like, I think Wednesdays when they just say like, here you go. Like, here's what the last 9 months were. And I think the FOMO is going to be insane. Again, disclosure of my holdings, I have like 6 Meta Heroes and like 7 mint passes and comics. I have everything. I have a ton of everything here. So I'm very biased. I'm hoping that Wednesday is a huge run up. But like I do think that this is undervalued, right? Like we're talking about probably one of the biggest announcements that we'll have to date as far as acquisitions since Clone X. So if we think about what happened with Clone X when that was announced, right? Like and what that's led to and how people are seeing the future of that. Um, I just feel like meta heroes and stuff like the comics and Founders DAO are probably undervalued. If we do, and I've talked about this as well, let's look at the valuation of PAL. And I wish I'm working on my streaming setup right now. I'll have it hopefully by the end of the week. We'll be able to throw the iPad up. We'll be able to throw the other screens up and show you. But I have written down here like let's just assume that the market cap for PAL is going to be something like mediocrely like close to Axie Infinity. Let's even step back. Let's just say like 100 million. Like I'd still at that point think if they can execute, PAL is undervalued at 30 cents. I think PAL can be a 50-cent token. And I think an announcement like we'll have Wednesday, even if it's in the short term, can send it there just because of one, liquidity is so low. People will turn to something that's cheaper than a Meta Hero to purchase and just get into the ecosystem. And they'll say, oh, well, I want some PAL. I can't afford 60 for a Meta Hero. Here's where I'm turning. You'll likely see PAL have some kind of price action there. I don't know where we're sitting. I think we're about 22 cents right now. But again, all about attention. Where are people's where are they going to? On the other side of that, if you're buying PAL as a speculative event for Wednesday or tomorrow, what's going to happen is you might have a day or two where that runs up. But once that attention's like, all right, well, that's great. It's going to take 6 months to get to this and another year to get to this. And we probably won't have like the attention's not going to stay there and the price will pull back somewhat. Um, Again, it's all about just attention rotation. And so that's what I would do. Kind of my value tip to everybody listening and watching is that I would go to OpenSea. I would go through your notes. If like I always say, have a notebook, go back 6 months, look at the stuff that you were talking about 6 months ago. Is it still relevant? What's happening with the floor? Just look at it because a lot of these things, if they have been executing and they have been quietly building, the second it gets picked up, it's going to go crazy right now. And this is the market today. This could change in a week, right? Like the market today is valuing NFTs. There's way more price action here. The returns are higher. We're seeing a lot of crypto people because of crypto prices rotate into NFTs as it's a hedge. And so that's what I would do. That's the process I use. I have a spreadsheet. It's called, reliable projects or blue chips. And I go through them and I just check floors. And I'll look at my notebook and see what's happening. We'll close it up today looking at punks. Punks are currently at an 83 ETH floor. I mean, this was 60 a couple weeks ago, or in the 70s. We've seen this kind of come back. It's great to see that. Punks are alive. This is a cool one. I would possibly pick this one up. Larva Labs right now feels a little undervalued, right? We were talking about attention. And so this is probably the bigger play for when people say like, what's the ultimate attention play? Like, what is Larva Labs doing with Meebits? What are they doing with punks? Are they just sitting on their hands? Like, I highly doubt it. I would be heavily inclined to say that we're going to see Larva Labs come up and kind of knock on the door and say, hey, like here's an announcement anytime in 2022. That's kind of what I can see happening. Just because of who are they signed to as an agency? Who are they talking to? What's the whole strategy behind their brand? Why are they developing an API for Meebits? Are they going to just do that and walk away? Maybe. I think it's a potential, but I really don't see that as the reality. I think they're going to be a little bit more active in, how do they integrate into things and play into like the metaverse and, outfits and fashion and video games. I think that there will be some play there this year. So as all the rotations kind of on what are people doing and actively talking about, this is a great kind of time to say, all right, nothing's being talked about here. Can I buy or should I buy? So we've seen some decent buys the last couple days here. We've seen a hoodie VR go for 300. We've seen a 3D. I think I'm trying to remember. Somebody picked this up that was kind of prominent. I want to say it was the guy who owns like Louis Vuitton and all that. Maybe it was this one. I don't know. But I do know we had a prominent buy there. Um, this was one that I've been looking at. So we've seen some action, and punks have come back. If we were to look at a volume chart, we've definitely seen punks come back in the last couple of weeks. As a people, I think are starting to say like, "Hey, these are way undervalued. Attention's other places. Time to hop back in." Obviously, there's some price action with ETH happening there. Um, you know, just to touch on that, I guess. We've been seeing ETH and Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies currently kind of bouncing back from the lows. ETH is up $700 almost from its lowest point where it was down at like 2,100, and now we see ETH kind of hovering at 2,800. A lot of people saying, "Is this a dead cat bounce?" We'll see. I don't know. We're right at a resistance line around 2,800. And then if you look at the chart, there's a downtrend. So Ethereum's probably at the max right now for like this kind of like run. And now it's kind of like decision time of, does it go up more? Does it go like, it sounds so stupid saying that. Obviously, it's gonna like, is it decision time for if it goes up or down? But we're at a very critical moment right now, I think, for Ethereum on, okay, do we have the momentum to break through and break back above 3,000? Or are we still not convinced with what the Fed said last week? And we're still a little uncertain about the economy in the future, and what's going to happen with rates. I think that's playing a big role right now. Um, Kind of just closing thought here. Regardless of what happens, make sure you're taking care of your taxes. Make sure you're, taking money off the table to pay for that. This is a great example. I think a lot of people are coming out a little bit safer now, but a lot of people, when ETH was down at 2,100, were having the conversation around, oh crap, like I sold a Bored Ape when it was, $4,000 worth of ETH, and I'm sitting on that ETH now, and to pay those taxes, I'm going to have to liquidate almost everything. Because remember, it's all USD based, it's not ETH based. So if you have big sales, you have things like that happening, or you're uncertain if ETH's going to stay here, make sure you're taking those profits off the table. Just my kind of thought there. Well, this was a fun morning to get back and make videos. I hope everybody enjoyed this one. I'll be posting it shortly. We recorded this one. We'll stream this one live. All the 5555 holders, which is my token, are able to actually watch this early and live. And then it will go out on YouTube and in podcast form. We're testing out a new studio, so there might be kind of glitches here. And by studio, I mean right next to my kitchen. I've just set up a desk and lights and everything. But yeah, I'm really excited to kind of test out the new format, the new style, start talking, make more videos. If you guys have suggestions about this, how we're doing this, or suggestions on things to cover, let me know. Yeah, and thank you so much for joining me. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and leave a comment, helps a ton. We'll catch you tomorrow. Have a good one, everybody.